To get where we are today, we had to learn a lot about downtown Nashville. We had to tour all of the existing parks and public spaces to understand how they were meeting the needs of residents and office workers, and also how they weren't. And so we thought it was important for the new Ann Dallas Dudley Park to fill all of those programmatic gaps. And we noticed that while Nashville has some great spaces for larger events, there aren't too many that were aimed at smaller spaces, especially for residents. And there wasn't enough green. The spaces that are activated really are very hardscape gray spaces. And they might have great live music, they might have great food on occasion, but what we really saw that was missing was a green, active space in downtown Nashville that was primarily aimed at downtown residents. The activation of the park is not just about bringing people there. It's also about getting them to stay for a long time and about making us an experience that's dynamic to keep them coming back again and again. So in order to do that, you have to build strong partnerships with local community partners. Those are small businesses, perhaps fitness studios, nonprofits, maybe some that promote the arts, and the major institutions in town, whether that's the Performing Arts Center or Vanderbilt University. We want all of those to be a part of the daily life at Ann Dallas Dudley Park. Well, the collaboration with Barge Design has been fantastic. It's not the first time I've worked with them, and so they understood that in order to create a park that was going to attract a lot of people and meet the needs of downtown residents, we weren't going to start with drawing abstract forms on a piece of paper. We were going to ask the questions of how are people really going to want to use this space? And so that's what we focused on. So we created great lawn spaces, plazas that are big enough to have some small performances, but also host things like games tournaments and author talks. So this process has been more about how do we meet the needs of the residents than how do we fulfill the ambitions of a designer. If you came to the park on, say, a random Tuesday morning, first, I think we would hope that you hadn't bought your coffee, because we really want to activate the corner of Church and Ann Dallas Dudley Boulevard with a really high-quality local coffee vendor, and also have some books and magazines and newspapers out there for you to read while you're drinking your coffee. But of course, anybody is welcome to use those books and magazines. You don't have to buy a coffee in order to use them. And then as you start to walk up the hill, you'll see the great sculptural climbing feature. As we thought it's important that there would be a space for children and families with children, though we also understand that the downtown population is pretty diverse demographically. And so we didn't think of this park as a family park, but it's important to have a space that welcomes everybody. As you move through the space and up the hill, you'll get to our performance plaza, which is where our movie screen will be placed. That's where we'll have some of our larger performances. The quote-unquote stage area is on that plaza because we have a great natural amphitheater, the sloping lawn extending north from the performance plaza, and that becomes a great seating area for people to view all of those musical performances, movies, dance performances, whatever we happen to have on a particular day. And then you hit the activity plaza, and that's really the most active part of the park. That's where we're going to have board games, art supplies, and all kinds of scheduled activities. And then we've got the biggest lawn, which is the north lawn, and that's going to be perfect for yoga classes, fitness classes, and also some arts and crafts classes where we don't necessarily want some of those materials to get on our nice, expensive stonework. We were okay with some paint getting on that lawn. And then right up near Union, we'd really love to put a bar kiosk selling beer and wine with things like trivia nights, poetry readings, other types of evening activities to keep workers downtown after 5 o'clock, but also give residents a great scene to come home to. People who work downtown, in my view, are thirsty for a new outdoor space to eat lunch. Maybe not in the heat of summer, but certainly in the spring and fall and even the warmer winter days. Green space that's beautiful, that's clean, that's safe. It's a great place to eat lunch, but also we know we're going to have to do some work to draw them there. So we'll have some live musical performances, other types of cultural activities, perhaps some business networking events. We think we have one really great idea to integrate the music industry with the technology industry. Both of those sectors are booming here in Nashville, and so we think it's really interesting to talk about a networking event to bring those two groups together, music tech talks. And we're working on developing those concepts, and we're going to start talking to some potential partners about that. So we're really excited about all the opportunities for downtown workers in the new park. Shared streets are currently being created across the country, and they're creating some of the most vibrant and exciting pedestrian environments that you'll find. Of course, people often have questions, well, how can I walk through this space if there are cars driving through it? But what we've found, and certainly, this has been happening in Europe for 15, 20 years. And what we've seen there, and now what we're seeing here in the United States, is that drivers actually change their behavior. They slow down, because they're not exactly sure what to do, and they're in this beautiful environment, and so it becomes very safe for pedestrians, and still manages to be convenient for drivers. And so we've managed to preserve access for vehicles to go through, access to the garages, access for deliveries for all the nearby businesses on the street. So we're really excited about the way the street's going to function, and to be giving the first shared street to downtown Nashville. To the skeptics, I'd say, first, is what we have now really what a good thing for downtown Nashville? In the current situation on Ann Dallas Dudley Boulevard, not only is it dirty, not only does it smell, it also just doesn't work as a downtown street. It's not a welcoming place for pedestrians. It's not enough just to put new sidewalks or new lighting or new street furniture. Ann Dallas Dudley Boulevard really needs a complete rethinking. Shared streets are new to Nashville, but not really a new concept. They've been in Europe for 15 or 20 years, and a great example of it working here in the United States is in downtown West Palm Beach, Florida, where they've seen a dramatic revitalization, increased pedestrian activity along Clematis Street, which is now a shared street. I think it's also important to think about Ann Dallas Dudley Boulevard as a connector between the library and the state capitol. And projects that connect destinations like that can have a really transformative effect on an urban fabric and a downtown and how a city thinks of itself. I was really involved in Clyde Warren Park. I created and executed the programming and activation plans for that space in downtown Dallas, which stitched together downtown and uptown. We built a park out of thin air on top of a highway. And it was so transformative for that city that it's created all kinds of opportunities, whether that's jobs and economic development. And our hope is that Ann Dallas Dudley Park will spur a similar revitalization along the boulevard and extending blocks outward. Parks are not just beautiful places to relax. They're also important urban infrastructure. They're amenities that help attract residents and businesses downtown. And frankly, it's becoming more and more important for cities to provide high quality, activated public spaces like our plan for Ann Dallas Dudley Park.